Hey, greetings from my office. It's a beautiful day outside, but I'm stuck inside because I need to make this video, and being outside doesn't do great for videos. So thanks for watching. Just wanted to remind you of a couple things. We've been talking about on Sundays in our class. We've been talking a lot about core stuff about what we believe and why we believe it and stuff. And a couple weeks ago, we talked about the Bible and why it's kind of a big deal. But then the week after that, we talked about how the Bible, if you don't study it, you really can't be that, for lack of a better term, that good of a Christian. It's kind of impossible to be a Christian without knowing what Christianity says. And so it's really, 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 really important that you study the Bible for yourself, that you read it for yourself, that you know how to handle it yourself, so that when things are said or you find stuff that maybe disagrees, you know how to go back and how to find what you need to find. Now, I understand that can be kind of daunting, especially if you don't like to read, it's not your deal, you find the Bible boring, and so there's a few things that you need to do in order to really get into this. And so I want to take a minute and just share them with you again here, because it's really, really important. If you're going to grow in your faith, you've got to know the most important book that we have. And so the first thing you got to do is just open it. Just whether you have to order one on Amazon or get yourself an app. There's a ton of great apps out there. The Bible app is probably the most common. The Blue Letter Bible app. There's a lot of different ones that are really, really good. So find yourself an app. Get yourself a good old school. I got my old school one here I use all the time. Find one that works for you and go there. If you didn't grow up reading the Bible, then I recommend you getting something like an ESV or a CSB. Or an NIV or an NKJV or an NASB. There's a bunch of different versions, and if you need help with that, I'll help you with that. I want you to get something that you can read and understand for yourself without getting confused. So if you grew up using old school King James, then no problem, roll on. But if you didn't and you're just getting started, might be a good idea to check out one of the different translations that are a little bit easier to read. Second part, just read it. Just actually open it up and read it. And it's important you pick a good place to start. Some people like to start in Genesis and work their way through. Fair warning, you're going to hit a lot of boring stuff right after you get through the first couple of books of the Bible. And so be prepared for that. A lot of people like to start in the New Testament with Matthew or Mark or Luke or John, something like that. Other people like to start in the Psalms or the Proverbs, where it's more poetic, more talking about different things that we deal with on a regular basis. And so let me encourage you, it doesn't really matter where, but the important thing is that you start. And don't just like flip it open and just be like, oh, I'm going to read here today, right? That might work, it might not. So pick a spot. A lot of Bible apps have different reading plans that you can use. And go straight there and see kind of how they suggest going through it. A lot of good options there. This is the third part. Learn a little bit about what you're reading. Okay, so if you're reading, let's say in the book of Acts, it'd be really important to know who wrote the book of Acts, why that person wrote the book of Acts, who it was written to, and what its content is before you get started. That way, when it references things, you kind of have some time frame. The Bible wasn't written at the same time. Like, it covers a lot of history in a lot of places. It's written different styles by over 40 different people. So it's really, really, really important that you understand a little bit of what you're reading. Sometimes different sections of it use a lot of imagery and metaphor, and sometimes it's just straight up, this is how life goes. And if you don't know the difference between those, you're going to run into some issues. So if you get a study Bible or something that'll help you with that, if you do a quick internet search, just be careful because there's a lot of weird crap on the internet. I know that's where you're watching this, by the way, too. So if you think this is weird crap, then I'm sorry. Just trying to be legit with you guys here. But there's different genres. So some of it's law, some of it's history, some of it's poetry or prophecy. You need to kind of know what's happening and what you're reading as you get into it. The fourth thing, after you've read it, ask yourself these questions. So who's writing? Where did this happen? Who is it written to? What's happening around this passage? See, a lot of people get in trouble with the Bible when they just pick a verse out and they can say whatever they want to say about that verse. Well, in the context of what's happening, that verse had a very specific meaning. But you pull that verse out of context, you can make it mean whatever you want. And that's how we get a lot of weirdness that comes out of Christianity and out of the Bible, is because people have just picked and chosen little pieces, and it's quite frightening. So don't do that. Look at what's happening around, get the big picture so you know exactly what, if it's like Jesus says something weird, read around that and understand what Jesus is getting at. What's the point? What's he trying to get across? Number 5, when you get done, ask yourself, what's the point of this passage? Like, why is this story here? Like, what's the point of this narrative that was just given, or what's the point? See if you can like write it down and kind of level it out for yourself. Like, this was the point of this. And then the next part of that is asking yourself, well, how does that point apply to me? There are things in the Bible that apply to you, and there are things in the Bible that don't apply to you. And you've got to look at them all objectively, and you've got to make some determinations based upon what you've read and what you believe the point of that passage to be, of whether or not it applies and how it applies to you. And then you have to take action on it. The Bible in the book of James tells us that we're supposed to not just be hearers of the word, but doers of it. In other words, if we're confronted with something that is really, really important and we don't do anything with it, well, then our heart hasn't actually changed and our life hasn't been changed. So it's very, very important. The final step of all of that is actually do something with what you read. So for example, when Jesus says you should love your neighbor as yourself, well, if you understand that, but you don't actually do it, then the Bible hasn't actually changed anything in your life. And so it's very, very important that you understand who is writing, what they were writing for, who they were writing to, what's happening on that passage, what's the point of that story, how does it apply to you, and then are you going to do something with it? So you've got the basic tools. It's all there. I would love to help you with this process. So if you want to do a Bible study or something along those lines, I'd be more than happy to go through something like that with you, whether that's virtually or we get together in a group or do something, or we meet up like after church or whatever and get some food and hang out and go through this. I'm totally down for that stuff. So comment on this video, message us. We love to talk with you, but we want you to have the Bible, be able to read it for yourself and understand it for yourself so that you grow up to be a mature Christian believer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.